Hello, good morning, everyone. I am indeed quite sleepy. I didn't get too much of a rest. But without further ado, this game runs on JRTA timing, so it starts on soft reset, which is in 3, 2, oh, and I get cut off by audio guy. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1. So, this is Spectrobes, a game developed by both Disney and Buena Vista Games. It is an action RPG, and, well, just like any other good speed game, we start off with a cutscene.
Those are not skippable?
Those are not skippable, sadly. And after that cutscene, we get another cutscene. And text boxes in this game are just like most RPGs. One of them advances the entire text box, and the other press just puts it to the next text box. So, apparently, Rallan and Gina, which are the main characters of the game, have found an unidentified object on the planet of Daichi, and, well, we're just here to investigate and see what's going on with it. So, well, we'll just do that.
So, what was kind of the plot again of Spectrobes?
The plot of Spectrobes is, spoilers, they're finding somebody who has some great relevance to whatever happened to his solar system, which was completely devoured by Kral, which is the main antagonist of the game. And he's warning us about our solar system being in danger as well. And, well, we're gonna have to save it.
Oh. Yeah, it's been a while since I've played this game myself, so...
I feel like this game went quite under the radar in most regions.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, because this is a really good casual game. So over here we find a Prismod, which gives us the second kind of text box, where the text scrolls in a fixed speed, and we cannot advance the text box until all the text has shown up. And just like any other good RPG, we get our first encounter forced onto us, and we're forced into combat, and we get a short tutorial. So combat in this game is pretty odd. You have two Spectrobes to control, and you have the main character Rallan to control, both of which can all attack separately. Rallan is not bound by the charge bar on the bottom left, and the Spectrobes are. There's two modes of attacks for each Spectrobe. By pressing Y, you get the second menu, where after you charge, you can do a special attack, which does more, as you've seen me do a few times. And, well, that's our first enemy. So we're just gonna report back on what happened. And we'll see.
I got a small question from Rangers. Are there any buttfish in this game?
There are no buttfish in this game. There are fishes, and there might just be butts, but there's no buttfish. But no fish. So, this is where Aldous, which is Mr. X, the guy from the pod which they found, is explaining us about what happened to his solar system and explaining us about what the Spectrobes are and whether there's minerals or not, which we completely skip in this run, but are really the way to level up your Spectrobes in a casual playthrough.
So, chat, if you have any questions for Sniper, just leave them in chat.
Just feel free to throw them at me. So, Gina currently notifies us that they did something in the lab, and we've got to check it out, so we'll do just that. And Aldous over here has something for us. Since we were apparently able to control the Spectrobes of his, we receive a coma pod, which we need to awaken at the lab. And I would like to have my mic muted, because blowing into the mic is the most efficient way. That works. For some reason, blowing into the mic doesn't work for once. And we're good. So, after awakening the Spectrobe, we gotta add it to our lineup in a separate tab. And now we have a child Spectrobe following us throughout the game, which we are gonna use exactly 4 times. And now we talk to Aldous again, because we can apparently awaken Spectrobes. And he's explaining us what a child Spectrobe can do, which is find cubes, minerals, and other fossils. And we're gonna have to look for a few cubes, which they do spawn in a fixed location every single time.
Mystic Wizards ask if there are any runners for this game, like that
Fred
people.
C is the only runner with a time on the SRCOM leaderboard, and he is the one who made JRTA a thing.
Alright.
And
So, how many runners are there?
it is just Fred C and me, sadly. So, you're more than welcome to pick it up. I'm currently writing a guide for the general things you need to do. And once that's finished, I'll post it on sr.com. So here we have the Excavation System, which is the way to dig up. There's a lot of tools of it. We'll just be using the large drill in this run, mainly because it's the fastest way to excavate it. That's not purchasable, because we have it at the start. And the second cube should be right here. So, minerals, fossils, and cubes can be distinguished on the overworld because the fossils will give an orange star-like shape. Minerals will give a blue one, and cube will give rainbow-colored ones. Let me see. Dude, I'm at a loss for words. Dang, drawing a blank.
I also got the question, why is it called beat the game and not any percent?
You have to ask Fretzy for that. I have no idea.
Okay.
I think it has something to do with it being JRTA, but I'm not sure. But we have the cubes, and we're just gonna turn them into Aldous, because cube apparently hold a lot of information.
Alright.
And he's linking his capsule to review what the cubes say. And he's speaking about how to awaken fossils and just basic tutorials. So you can just, when you when you haven't played the game in 3 years, you can just look at the cubes and know what to do again. And we found a beta cube, which is about training Spectrobes, which you can do in 2 ways. One of them is feeding them minerals, and the other is just battling, because it's an RPG. We all do that. And Gina forgot to notify the commander about what happened, and he's emergency calling us to the headquarters.
I got another question. Are there any runners for Spectrobes too?
Yes, Fretzy has been running it as well, and I think Durger once tried the run, but hasn't done a full run yet.
Alright. So it's also a small community that runs it.
Sadly, it is. There's also a third game on the Wii, which is Spectrobes Origins, which was gonna be routed by Durger, but we gave up because cutscene skip not being a thing just wastes so much time. I think the theoretical route was about 15-ish hours, which is quite the slog compared to the first and second game. And we're gonna get our weapons in a bit, because the commander wants us to. So what we did there was just add a cutscene where we notified the commander of the threat that is the crawl, and he sent us off to Genshi, where we are apparently needing to rescue a professor who is under attack by the crawl, and we're the only way to stop them. And we get more slow text.
Have you played all of the Spectrobe games?
I have cleared all the Spectrobe games casually. I'm currently learning the second game, and as you can see, I'm running the first. So before we're gonna go to Genshi, there's some other thing we need to pick up, which is the only reason why this game is 1.5 to 2 hours instead of give or take 6 or 7. And that is hidden somewhere on this planet. That's not too far off. Maybe this is a good time to plug what we are doing over here from the hosting station.
Absolutely. We are here right now as BSG, the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering, having our first annual week-long speedrunning marathon for charity. We are taking donations, of which 90% go directly towards the Dutch Cancer Society, an amazing charity that just helps out in the fight against cancer in all kinds of ways. And as you can see, we are nearly reaching 3,000 euros and nearly reaching the end of a bid war where you can choose the color of the character suit in Spectrobes.
Which one is in the lead, if I may ask?
Right now, red is in the lead, but it is way open for everyone to snipe. So if you want to leave a permanent mark on this run, now would be the time to donate.
Okay, so what we just did was gave him the Upsilon Cube, which gives us the ability to use card input, which is a promotional thing for the game, which was given in some gaming magazines, which give you some special Spectrobes and or minerals. So we're gonna get 2 specific Spectrobes and 2 specific minerals for a different purpose. Oh, and I messed up. Oops. Card codes are hard. So there's 16 boxes, 4 corners, and a 3x4 field in the middle. I messed up. 3, 2, 1, 4. So what we got there were 2 specific Spectrobes, which are the Inca Flare Auger, which we will be using throughout the run, and 2 ruby minerals, so we don't have money issues for the rest of the game.
Someone also asked if there are any humanoid type monsters in this game.
Most monsters are humanoid shaped, but there are a few that just look like animals. So with the Spectrobes in Tau that we just got, we're just gonna head off to Genshi and rescue the professor. Because, you know, he can wait for 5 minutes. And we're getting a tutorial on how to fly, which is just touch the planet, select your area, and just go there. So, as you may have seen on Daichi, there were black vortexes flying around everywhere. Those are encounters. Vortexes do chase you or are static. And they have a specific range. So the moment you leave the range of a vortex, they just stop chasing you and go back to their original position. And we're gonna talk to this guy who has been expecting us from the NPP. And we get a jetpack, which allows us to return to the ship anytime we want. And that's gonna save us a hell of a lot of time throughout the run. So a fun thing you can do with vortexes is the moment they chase you, you can kind of lead them around. You can kind of lead them down and just walk around and just avoid the encounter completely, like I just did there.
I got a question. Is there usually a reason for RTA versus in-game timers?
The in-game timer goes by complete minutes and is different from 3DS and DS as far as we've noticed. So we just use RTA. Both for accuracy and...
And do you also know why this game has a preferred timer?
I actually don't. So yeah, this is why we get the Spectrobes. We just one-shot everything at this point. And with that, we've rescued Professor Wright, because... I mean, it's worth the 5 minutes. And we got a basic serum, which is really kind of rare. So, the basic serum just heals one of our Spectrobes, partially, but we're not gonna need it in the run, because item menuing is slow. And the Professor gives us a fossil, which is the Owl Pod, which we're not gonna use, because we don't need child Spectrobes, and we have pretty good fighters already. And with the Professor rescued, we just notify the commander on what we've done. And we get more tech smashing. So a fun thing about the differences between the first and second game is in the second game, the combat between Rallan and the Spectrobes is completely just separated, and in the first game, Rallan is with the Spectrobes in the first game, and he really doesn't do any damage. I think the level 10 blaster does, I think, 10 damage or so, and the rest is just 1.
I need to say thank you from Mystic Wizard, and I need to wish you good luck.
Thank you for the good luck. I'm gonna need it. So, I did say we got 2 minerals, which are ruby minerals. Those are gonna give us enough for all the items in the game which we're gonna get, which is a glove later that raises our defense, and a bunch of suits. We'll be using the red one for sure for a certain part in the game where it's kind of required. And we're gonna get a suit of whatever the color is. And for that I need 2 minerals instead of 1. Just because of the prices. So over here we find Cyrus, who's been in trouble as well. And he's been excavating a bunch of ruins, which are invested with the black vortexes, and we're gonna need to take care of those. And he wants a keystone, which is in the ruins, and he's gonna give us a rare cube in return, which ironically we're not using in the run, but is really relevant on casual playthroughs. Also, funnily enough, this is one of the 2 buildings in the game where you can actually fly. I don't know why. And we get a small tutorial about how to navigate from area to area on a planet, which is by rotating it with the control stick. Do you have any personal questions about the game, since you have played it in the past, I think?
Not really. I was always stuck on the beginning, and it's been a long time since I've played it. I think I was 11 or 12? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I was very young, and I didn't really understand how the game worked.
I mean, I guess that's part of childhood in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So over here there's a static encounter that, if it appears, which it did, is unavoidable. So here's our first encounter. We just Hold select and run. And the encounter's gone. So we have the option to fight as well for a Minergy, but that's slow, so we're not doing it. And running takes about, I think, 8 or 9 seconds in total. So every encounter we get wastes about 10 to 15 seconds.
So what I can remember from this game is it was about collecting minerals and such, right?
Yeah, we're not doing that in the speedrun, funnily enough. Even though that is as big of the part as a game, we just get to really overpowered Spectrobes and just blaze through, which is kind of sad, but hey, gotta go fast, right?
That's true.
One thing about the game as well is that they tried to use as much of the DS as possible. Like for the excavating, you use a lot of the touchscreen, and for awakening the Spectrobes, they made you use the mic, which I think is quite unique in terms of design space.
I got a question here asking which Spectrobe is your favorite? 1 or 2?
I'll go for 2, I guess. But in all seriousness, my favorite Spectrobe is Mesaforn, which is both in the first and second game. And over here we find our blue keystone, which we get slow text for I don't know why.
For no reason.
Yeah, no, the slow text is really weird. Because, I mean, why would you code it differently? Like, if you want to read your text box, you would read the text box, right? Like, what reason is there to make it slower?
I got a question here. How did you get those 2 Spectrobes that look quite strong?
We got it through card input, which requires the Upsilon cube. We got that in Colin near the tree, and that basically allowed us to use codes from promotional cards to acquire the Spectrobes. The codes are memorized and are fixed. So with the blue keystone, we're just gonna return to Cyrus and get our rare useless cube. So the cube tells us about how evolved Spectrobes work and give us the option to use evolved Spectrobes, but with card input, that's kind of useless. Also, as you might have noticed, we went to Area 3 instead of 2 on Nessa. The ruins will always be on 3, and Area 2 is basically a gigantic mineral field. So it's great for just leveling the Spectrobes on a casual playthrough. And fun fact is that Gina says she can't wait to analyze it, but guess what? We can wait. And we will wait.
She's gonna wait with analyzing, isn't she?
Yeah, she's gonna wait a long time on that one.
Is she ever gonna analyze them?
Probably not. And we have an urgent mission from the commander. Wonder what's going on. And he's saying that the headquarters is under attack by black vortexes, so...
Mystic Wizard is searching for Mesaforn, but can't find it. Which one is it?
I think it's the final form of line 21. It's Mesaforn, so M-E-S-A-T-H-O-R-N.
Do you ever change from those 2 Spectrobes during the run?
No, we use the Spectrobes for the entire run. Also, the suit color bit war ends in give or take 2 to 3 minutes from now, so if you want to snipe that, then get on it. Oh, thank God, game audio is back. Thanks, tech people. And we got quite the bad spawn. So vortexes spawn in a certain area. Where they spawn is random, and the way they move is random until they have found you. And we get lucky on the rest of it. So we're coming up on our first boss, which is also the most dangerous boss, because we haven't upgraded our armor yet, and any 2 hits will kill Relan. And should Relan die in combat, you just game over and you get teleported back to your ship. And this is the first boss. This is my arch nemesis, Jaiforma. So he will always start with charging towards one of your Spectrobes, in which you just respond by attacking. And those allies, as I would call them, just start shooting and attacking, and we just stun lock him in the wall and triple hit, and he should be gone. And he dodged the first, but recovered nicely. So yeah, hardest boss in the game, we just stun lock him. It's gonna be a recurring theme. So yay, the headquarters is safe, and we're gonna have to check out the rest of the planet to see if everyone else is okay. And he wants Gina and Aldous over there to forge a plan, because apparently Relan can't make up plans himself. And with that, I would like to cut off the suit color bit war here.
Absolutely. Red has won this bid war. Thank you for your donation.
That's quite nice, because red is actually the fastest. Because there is one area in which we are forced to use the red suit. So we're just gonna get our suit, we're gonna get our glove and be on our merry way. And for some reason, after equipping a suit, you don't heal, so you're still stuck at the 150 instead of the 300 maximum health, which you get from the suit. So, hey, we're red now. And we're gonna have to check up on what the commander said was the entire planet, but in reality is just a museum curator. Why that is, I don't know, but hey, it's an RPG, don't question it. So we can just take a moment to enjoy the beautiful music of this game. Like, the soundtrack is just on point, atmospheric-wise. And there we see the museum curator. And he's just glad everyone is alright, and he's trying to open the museum with this amazing green stone he found. And then we say we found one in another color, and he says that's impossible. There's like 3 of them on the entire universe. But little does he know. So with that, we're gonna just take a small shortcut and jetpack back to our ship, which is faster than just walking to the headquarters. So the current world record for this game is 1:35:01 by Fretzy, which I might beat this marathon if the boss fights are good enough. They can be a pain sometimes. So yeah, Gina said her, the commander, and Aldous were done talking, so let's get to more tech smashing, shall we? So Aldous here is saying it's a Vatakan agent, which is the kind of the scout of the crawl, meaning an invasion is close whenever they're found. And they're assuming that the crawl nest is in the furthest planet in the solar system, which is Ziba, which apparently has a really strong magnetic field, so guess we gotta be careful.
So is there also any particular reason why you have those two Spectrobes, or are they just as
I've chosen them for the Corona property, which is one of the free properties in this game, which are Flash, Aurora, and Corona. They do bonus damage to each other, like a rock, paper, scissors system. So
Yeah.
Aurora beats Flash, Flash beats Corona, Corona beats Aurora. And there's one area which we get to later, which has a really strong Aurora field. And the moment you enter it with anything that isn't Corona, the HP gets set to 1. And, well, I don't want to fight that boss on 1 HP. Just asking for trouble. And apparently the magnetic field is way stronger than the data predicted. And it's apparently caused by the moons, which are spinning like crazy. So we're gonna have to make a crash landing. And we live. So we're gonna have to find Professor Kate, which apparently knows more about what happened to us. And really conveniently, we made a crash landing really close.
So there is a professor on any planet, or?
I think there's just 2 in the game, which are Kate and Wright. And we got quite the unfortunate encounter on a really small space, so they're really hard to dodge and really hard to just walk around. And there's another one, please follow me. Dang. So yeah, small spaces and weird hitboxes don't mix. Who would have thought? Hmm? I'm gonna need this vortex to get away from that stair.
So some of those encounters are static and some are just following you?
Yeah. So vortexes that are non-static, they have a certain range in which they will track Rallan, and a certain range in which they will spot Rallan. So from there they will just track him. And if that's in a really small or tight corridor, then it's almost impossible to invade, and it's just faster to run into them. So here we talk to Kate, and she's explaining that the moons are just really just going haywire and causing the planet to be super magnetized. So we get a DMAG unit, so just to travel to the moon to see if there's any crawl nests there. Because hey, what else could cause a gigantic magnetic disturbance? So we're just gonna give Gina the DMAG unit, and she's magically gonna attach it to the ship from there. And we get more slow text. So to the moon we go. Oh boy. So yeah, that vortex spawned really close to the ship, and that's pretty much impossible to evade. Those spawns can be really annoying from time to time. There's nothing you can do about it. So encounters in this game are quite weird to avoid. So when moving upward, encounters, you can just see them from a mile away, but if they come from the side, there is very little time to react, and the same goes for if they come from the bottom of the screen. Just because you have so little vision, just like that, you just don't see them before they come up.
So a casual run is of this game, because the speed run is around 1.5 hours. What is the time for a casual run?
A casual run, I think my first casual playthrough took me about 15 to 20 hours.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, there's a lot of content in the game we don't skip, or we don't do. And it appears that there's nothing weird on this moon, so we're just gonna have to check the other one. Because we are planetary patrol after all. Gonna have to check everything. So to the other moon we go. And I will be healing before that. Just because I'm not really confident about going into a few bosses with 150 health. And just healing one should be enough for the rest of the run. So this is probably like the only time we use the healing pod. It's not slow, it's not fast, but hey, it works. Unfortunate. So yeah, encounters are annoying, who would have thought? At least they're not random in this game, aside from the enemies you get inside the encounter. That was a lot closer than I'd like it to be. Yeah. So, does any of the tech people or other audience members have anything to ask?
They're asking how the food in the venue is.
The food in the venue is actually really good. We've had pasta yesterday, and we've had, I think, just Mexican food on the first day. The taco bowls was pretty good.
Ramanujan actually asked why the enemies are arriving in tornadoes.
That is, I think, just lore that they travel through black vortexes and then take shape the moment you see them. And this is the second boss. This is Skessa. He's pretty annoying. So this boss is a good example of how weird the collision is. So as you can see there, the Spectrobes and the enemy made contact at the same time and hurt each other, but sometimes it just the Spectrobes get damaged and you just miss out on a cycle. And what I just did there was a special attack. You need a fully charged bar for that. And then you can press L and R to deal a fixed amount of damage. And it also resets the entire cycle of the fight. So we can just abuse it and get a quick kill that way. The window on the last hit is actually really tight. I've been missing it a lot more than I'd like to in practice. And apparently there isn't a nest here, but we did find a boss, and the moons have returned to normal. So we're just gonna have to look further in the solar system to see where the nest is. And we see, and we're slowly running out of time, but the planet Mado, the furthest planet in the solar system, just completely vanished. So we think it's completely cloaked in shadow from the crawl, because they do travel in black vortexes. So they might have just covered the entire planet. And we cannot reach Mado with the spacecraft we have. But Professor Kate, who is apparently eavesdropping, has the most brilliant idea. And we need to visit her lab, so she's do that exact thing. And as you can see, the moons are just in place on Ziba now, which makes traveling a lot easier as well. Because the hit detection on the area selection is really bad. The Wii version is the third installment of the game, so it's a completely different game. It also runs on a completely different engine, considering the first two are DS games. And I think they completely reworked the combat and the ways the properties work. So I think there's 5 in Origins. And there's like the rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock system in there, which is quite odd to me. It's been a really long time since I've played Origins. Kinda should go back to it, to be fair. It's a pretty good game. But hey, we've arrived at Professor Cade's place. And she's talking about how the ruins on Nessa are apparently a gigantic spaceship. And that the keystones that both she and the museum in Colin have are a kind of key to activate the ship. And we get a letter, which just apparently is enough to get the keystone from the museum.
So, how long are you speedrunning this game now?
I've been speedrunning this game for about 4 months now.
Oh.
I feel like this game could be grind down to maybe a 127 or 126, maybe. We're gonna need a bit of optimizing and maybe some small rerouting, but we can probably make it work with good movement and lucky encounters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just also based on the encounters.
Yeah, encounters waste about 10 to 15 seconds each, and my PB has, I think, 12 encounters, so that's 3 minutes gone off the bat.
Question, what category in 2 are you learning and what's the world record on it?
2 has the any percent category, and I think the world record is at 257 by Fretzy. So we're gonna just show the curator the letter, and that should be good enough to get us the keystone. And we get slow text for that, because why not? And he's absolutely mad about giving us the keystone. But hey, we're gonna have to take it anyway. And Gina is just asking us the perfect time how things are going, because we were just done. So we're just gonna have to insert the keystones at the ruins and hope the ship starts.
DJ Nightcore asks what your PB is in this game.
My PB, I have done some unrecorded runs in the practice room and got a 132.12 earlier. And that is my PB right now. My PB in the second Spectrobes game, I've done one run of it, which was semi-blind, which was a 4:05. But I'll be getting better at that pretty soon. Oh my word. These encounters are something alright. Guess you could call it marathon luck on the encounters. See if I can go 1 on 3 in the fixed encounter in the ruins. Because that is the only unavoidable encounter in the game. And it's completely random if it spawns or not. I think it's like a 60 to 70% chance to spawn, but we'll see if we're lucky. And we are not. Never lucky in a marathon. Who would have guessed? Oh well, at least we get to enjoy the best music in the game, in my opinion. The Ruins music is just really relaxing and atmospheric. There are 7 worlds in this game, and I think 13 in the second game. It's either 13 or 14. So what I think is a really weird design is that you have to go all the way down here to actually get to the good part of the ruins, which is kind of easily missable in a casual playthrough. I feel like it's kind of a weird design choice there.
So is this game also more a dungeon crawler, or...?
Yeah, you could say this is a dungeon crawler as well. Just with the open world system and whatnot.
So it's a collectathon and a dungeon crawler in such a fashion.
I guess you could call it so. Hey, let's place those keystones and see if we're gonna lift off. Sorry, I do have a slight case of BSGBs. And I get a loud sigh from the tech desk for making that joke. I'm sorry. If you want it to be called differently, give a good alternative. That's fair. And it rumbles, but nothing really happens. And it seems that we're missing something, which is the blue keystone we gave to Cyrus earlier. Because only now they remember, even though it happened 20-ish minutes ago. Because, you know, we're smart.
What is your fastest time on this game?
Just as I said earlier, a 1:32.12. Earlier today in the practice room, actually.
Ah, nice.
So I'm just hoping to get sub 1:35 here. So we're just gonna talk to Cyrus because, you know, our entire solar system is in danger. We're gonna need the extremely rare treasure we just gave him. So he would give it to us if we told him that story, right? Like, that sounds super believable. Like, he would do the same if somebody said that to you, right, RPG?
Maybe.
Yeah, so that's exactly how Cyrus is gonna react. Like,
well, it's as I can see, it is kind of a businessman, so he won't give you it for free.
yeah, he's gonna need something equally rare, which turns out to be a diamond mineral in the Tabletop Mountains of Daichi. So, hey, we'll just get it, right? Like, it's just a diamond. It should be pretty easy to get, right?
It's probably guarded by a strong Spectrobe.
Like, I mean, Daichi was the first planet. It should be super easy, right? This is free. So Gina informs us about what the Tabletop Mountains are, and this is the place where there's really strong aurora. So if you touch it, it sets your HP to 1 unless you've got the Corona property, which we already have because we have the red suit, and we have 2 Corona Spectrobes, so hey, everything works out.
So that's the area you talked about earlier.
Yeah, that is the area. So there's one way you can fight the boss with more than 1 HP, but it does require a frame perfect trick and the healing item drop. The latter we got, but I'm not feeling myself on a 1 frame trick.
I got a question. How optimized is the second game? How much potential do you think the game has to come down to the world record?
The second game, I think, is decently optimized. There is still a lot of RNG involved in the fossils you find, because you are completely relying on them, and you do need the right fossils. So if there's a way to find Manip, we can probably grind it down to 240-ish. But the game does have a lot of potential and is a lot fun to run as well.
So the minerals and such always spawn in the same area?
Yeah, most minerals have a 100% spawn rate. There's a few that have a 60 to 50 spawn rate, but those are considered rare minerals. So things like the ruby and the emerald and the gold mineral, which all spawn in one specific spot.
Yeah, so they're stuck on one spot, but don't always spawn.
Yeah, the mineral itself always spawns, but it's a 40% chance to contain something completely different.
Ah.
So it just draws from a pool.
Yeah, I was more wondering that it wasn't like totally random.
No, they do have a fixed amount of spots they can be in. And as you can see, the gigantic beams of light coming from above in purple are the aurora beams, which just completely reset your HP to 1, which we're not gonna get. Even our child Spectrobe is Corona, but that doesn't really matter since they don't fight. Also, and if anyone has arachnophobia, look away. There's a spider web here. And there's no spider to be seen anywhere in this entire game, which still really struck me as a kid and still does on me.
Oh. Kan hem hiernaast liggen.
So the open air bit of the mountain, every single space is aurora filled, so it's gonna be really hard to travel without Corona. And this kind of baffled me because as a kid I didn't know English too well, and I really didn't get how to get through this game. So that got me stuck for a few hours until stupid little me realized after 2 hours that it doesn't affect Corona property Spectrobes. And this is a good example of just static vortexes. And we're nearing the top of Tabletop Mountains, and just like any other really valuable treasure, it is somehow guarded by a really large crawl. So this boss is pretty annoying if you don't know what to do. He has a really annoying spinning attack that will multi-hit you and will 6-hit you in the run. But we can just walk around on the edges and we shouldn't get hit. And we're just gonna look to do 3 hits, reset the face, and repeat. Also, I think the double Corona animation is the fastest, because the animation does react to the property of Spectrobes, and it gives us the Meteor Strike because we have 2 Coronas. Go ahead and spin. You just take 1 damage, or 25. This boss can be quite the annoyance. Like it just showed there. So we're just gonna reset the cycle again. and slowly murder him.
So this was a boss you were talking about you didn't want to fight with 1 HP.
Yeah, fighting him with 1 HP is really risky.
Is it possible?
Yeah. It's just stupidly precise. And this is something he just does. He just does half of your HP with 1 attack. Which makes it really risky, even with the current armor we're using. But he's gone. So, fun thing is, we still needed to excavate the diamond. Earlier in the practice run, I forgot to get it and lost 6 minutes because I had to walk all the way up from the ship. And it's a really easy thing to miss if you're not paying attention. Also, this diamond mineral cannot be damaged. So you can do whatever you want and it just won't break. So with the diamond, we're just gonna give it to Cyrus, get our blue keystone, and see if the relic work or the ruins are actually a spaceship, as they told. But hey, that wasn't so bad, was it? So, if you're looking to pick up this game, the biggest time saves you can get in the run is just not dying. Like, not dying in the run is basically a guaranteed sub 140. And from there, it's just optimizing movement and grinding the time down to however low it can get. It's also pretty easy as a speedrun, I'd say. Aside from 2 or 3 fights, this game is not as punishing as most others. Like, it's pretty lenient on what you can do in and out of combat. And most of that is because we can just reset a phase whenever we charge the bar. And we got our keystone.
Well, it really looks like an interesting game to run, though.
Yeah, it's got a lot of different elements to it, which do make it kind of challenging at times, because you have to swap from doing good movement in a dungeon crawler to knowing how to menu. And I'm actually gonna heal here, because I took about 2/3 of my health worth of damage. And if I mess up at the next boss, I might just die in 1 hit. So we're just gonna go back to the ruins for a 3rd time, and hey, maybe we won't get the unavoidable encounter this time. And we get to hear the really good music of Nessa that we don't get to hear enough. Like, this soundtrack of the game is really, really well made. And we got 3 out of 3. Just marathon things. I have never gotten a 0 out of 3. I have gotten a 1 out of 3 once. So I don't know if Durger is in the chat, but if he is, if anyone wants to route Origins, you should contact him, because the game looks really interesting to run and has a lot of good combat systems and just puzzles overall. And if you haven't played it casually, I would definitely recommend playing through the entire series. You're missing out on the story in the speedrun, but man, is it pretty good. It really picks up in the second and third part, but just setting the tone in the first just makes it pretty good overall.
Is there a guide for Spectrobes too?
There is not yet. Even though watching the world record run and just mimicking will give you a good start, I'd say. But I will be working with it, with Fretzy on it, the moment I'm done grinding this game out to a pretty low time. The second game also operates a lot smoother on what and how it does work in combat. Just the fact that the moment Rallan dies in the first game, you just game over. That is no longer a thing in the second game, because the combat is completely separated. And before we could enter the Blue Keystone, we find another huge leader crawl. And man, this guy is actually
Annoying?
No, he's actually really easy.
Ah.
So he just launches his gigantic arm at you. You hit him twice, and you just stun lock him against the wall. 4 hit, please? 2 hit. Unfortunate. How did that miss? Hello? And the allies of him do heal. Oh my word.
Do you ever think there will be a 4th Spectrobe game?
No, the story did end after the third part. So it is a closed book, basically. Unless they decide to release anything that happened between the second and third game.
Or a spin-off?
Yeah, basically. It's kind of a shame that the last game was on Wii. It just plays so much differently, and I feel like it could have been released on the 3DS the way it worked, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. And there's a blue circle there, which means I forgot. Oh yeah, wait, we have to go to the ship. I'm an idiot. Oops. So Gina wanted us to go back to the ship because she's gonna try and link it to the entirety of the ruins, because she is apparently a genius. So we're just gonna get the ship over there. See if we can get things going.
So, are the Spectrobe games all sequels of each other? Or?
Yeah, they are released in chronological order.
Alright.
So it's Spectrobes, Beyond the Portals, which is the other DS game, and then there's Origins. And Origins basically ties the story of 1 and 2 together completely and gives it a good ending. Which I'm not gonna spoil, because man, is the story good from the second and third part. So before we found out how early we could get card input, we didn't use the Inca flares that I have, and it took about 4.5 hours to do the speedrun just because of the Spectrobe grinding. And the fact that the final boss took only 1 damage per hit and has 1,000 health. So that was a 20-minute slog of a fight. I mean, it still is in this game, but 6.5 is a lot better than 20. And we just fly off with a gigantic spaceship. So Area 3, which were the ruins before, are no longer accessible now. But there's no exclusive fossils or minerals, so there's nothing in a casual playthrough you can miss there. So we're off to Mado, which is the final planet of the game. But we're abruptly stopped by the amount of shadow that's basically just crawl assaulting the ship because they have surrounded the entire planet in whatever they might be. So we're just gonna land on the moon nearby, which is called Himuro. And it's a gigantic ice ball just floating around Mado. So we're gonna have to find a way to defeat the Shadow. And Gina says this isn't your average ice ball. So we're gonna see if we can do anything to put it to our advantage. So we're just gonna explore Himuro.
So this planet was not not accessible before you had the spaceship, right?
Yeah, correct. And we only had the option to travel to Mado, so we couldn't visit Himuro. We're just led there by the story. And we get what is, in my opinion, the best overworld music in the game. And a great view of Mado in the background on the top screen. And we get a really annoying encounter. So yeah, fast corridors, weird hitboxes, still don't mix.
I got a question. How did you get into this game?
I actually got into this game because I watched a stream of Fretzy running it, and that just made me replay the game that I really enjoyed as a kid. And eventually I just contacted him, asked for a small route, and just started running.
And I got another question. Which game is more interesting and fun to run? 1 or 2?
I would say 2 because of it being in depth, but it is a lot longer. But in terms of difficulty, 2 is a lot harder. So if you were looking to pick up a game, be warned. I mean, both games are really fun to run, so you're not gonna just strike a miss, basically. So over here we find a small control panel, and there is a switch there, and just like any other main character would do, we will push the switch. Then we get to hear a small noise. And Gina doesn't know why, but there is something special about this planet or moon or whatever it is. So we're just gonna look around on the planet and see what else is there.
You might have told this already, but I got a question of how long is Spectrobes 2?
Spectrobes 2 is, the world record right now is 257. But after we find something like fossil manip, so we can get the exact Spectrobes we want, it might just be able to be cut down to 240, 245. But for a first run, expect it to be about 4 hours. Oh wait, oops. So the main time saves in this game is just knowing how to avoid encounters, not dying, and just good movement overall. The fights itself can take a long time, but it's pretty forgiving in how the combat system works. Just because there is a cycle reset, unlike the second game. So if you mess up in the second game, you're in a heap of trouble. And you're not on a timer to just save yourself, which we have here.
I got a question. Which Spectrobes are used for the run? But I'm not entirely sure if he's talking about this one or 2.
For the second one, we use a lot of them. It's basically whatever the property we need, we find. So there's usually just a pool of a few Spectrobes of the property we need. And we just use those. And for the end, it's basically just use what you can find on the planet, awaken them, and just abuse how high of a level they are.
Blessed Dragoon asks, are there any animals to save or kill?
There are sadly no animals to kill. And as Crawl, I think are considered to be fungi. And Spectrobes, I don't even know what they are. And apparently pushing that switch did something. So we're gonna just have to look for the last of the 3 paddles we saw earlier. See what's over there. And we're gonna... Nice, that vortex actually cooperated. That's pretty rare. So if anyone is also interested in routing the third game, I might do that the moment I get a copy again, because my old copy did break because of a burn of the laser. So the moment I get into routing it, everyone is more than welcome to help out. And the series does need more runners. Like, me and Fretzy aren't gonna cut it. In all honesty. Oh my word. Also, the second game has way better encounters, because they just move in a fixed pattern.
Well, you already got someone into it. Mystic Wizard said, I am now interested in playing or even running that game.
If you're gonna run the first, be on the lookout on speedrun.com. I will try to post a guide somewhere next week.
Oh, nice. So here, guys, if you want to run this game, keep an eye out on the speedrun.com page.
As for the second game, I'll see whenever I have time, because I do have a study. And whenever I have time, I will probably just put it into routing this game, and the second one. See if I can optimize it a little further than it already is. And we find a gigantic control panel. And it has a hologram of Mado and Himuro in the background. And the entire planet's shaking. And Gina asks us to do whatever we just did. So we're just gonna make the planet rumble again. And what we are doing is changing the orbit of Himuro. So we get a really small minigame in which we're gonna center all the light of Himuro, use it like a prism to shine on Mado, and ruin the crawl surrounding the planet. For that, you only have to move the middle ball. So the middle ball rotates the planet, and the outer ring just makes you rotate vertically. And there's a small crystal on the control panel, and it looks really special. So we're just gonna take it and see whatever that does. And we get the Relic Crystal in slow text, because why not? Also, I think it was Mystic Dragon who wanted to speedrun it. Before you speedrun it, do play it casually, or you're gonna miss out on a lot of things. It's a lot of fun to play. And as we can't use jetpack in the buildings, we need to teleport out first, and then just return to the ship. And we're sadly gonna have to say goodbye to the best music in the game.
Well, I got a comment here from I Love Cookies,
Quiz.
Who is that handsome bee speedrunning Spectrobes? Hi, Sniper. They're just so high.
That is Sniperwave Quiz. So Quiz is a regular of the designer of the layout, which is Najasu. Quiz is also just a really nice guy overall. And as is Najasu. So if you're watching, you did a hell of a good job on the layouts. Like, major props to you. It looks amazing. So, what Aldous just said was that the Geo, which revives a ultimate form Spectrobe, is located on the bottom of a red lake, which is assumingly a lava flow on Genshi. And the ultimate form Spectrobe is apparently the most powerful form of the Spectrobe, and it just might just allow us to defeat whatever is guarding the crawl, or the crawl leader, to say.
So my question is now, are we going to lava boost?
We are not going to lava boost. We can sadly not interact with the lava. I wish we could, man. I wish we could.
Are we still on world record pace?
What time are we at now?
1:15.
We might still get world record.
Nice. To incentivize you getting world record, we just got in €5 from an anonymous donor who says, "Great run so far." Thank you so much for your generous donation.
Thanks, Anonymous. So the Relic Crystal suddenly starts glowing, and it freezes half of the stream of lava. Because, I don't know, lazy animation, I guess. And we get a gigantic amount of slow text, which we get every time we freeze a flow of lava. Oh, I thought I could get that. That's unfortunate. So the reason I'm walking around in a circle is because some encounters use projectiles, and that does do some major damage to Rallon if I get hit.
Does any of the Spectrobes we use evolve?
The Spectrobes we use are from card input and are already evolved. So in a casual playthrough, you would need an evolved mineral to evolve a Spectrobe, but we just skip all of it because it's faster.
So they're already in their final form.
Yeah, they are already in their evolved form. And according to the lore, ultimate Spectrobes are really special beings, and they are just on their own as a form. Also, stopping the flow of lava apparently destroyed that vortex. Which I think that might be called a lava boost, because the vortex was just walking on it, but... Hey, shoutouts to Indie Drag Pack, right? Oh, rip. I should have seen that coming. So there's a small bit of blind zone between the two screens, and I did not see the vortex in between those. Which is kind of a shame. Yeah, this looks good in phase. So we're gonna get this slow text about 3 more times on this screen alone. And man, is it annoying.
So is this one of the last parts of the game?
This is the second to last part of the game, yes. After this, it's Mado and we're done. And half of that is just the... well, kind of the triple boss fight at the end. I guess you could call it a boss rush, but... the second fight really is a joke. So, stopping those free flows of lava just dries up the lake. So we'll see what's in the middle of it. And just like as was inscribed on the Relic Crystal, it is on the bottom of a red lake. So we'll just pick up whatever that might be. And we get ourselves a Flame Geo. So there's 7 Geos in this game. The other 6 can be done by just a... I guess you could call it a something comparable to the Pit of 100 Trials in the Thousand Year Door, where you just do an X amount of fights, and as a reward, you get another Geo. It doesn't affect gameplay, it does change aesthetics. And it's basically the post-game content of this game.
I need to say from mistake, tell Sniper that yes, I was thinking about running Spectrobes too, because he played it over 800 hours.
Oh wow. So there's more than one person who did that.
You're one of them?
I am one of them, yes. I have so many hours in that game. So if you want to help routing, just send me a whisper on Twitch. And I'll try to get a Discord going. And we can just route everything out there. So yeah, now that we have the Geo, we can tackle the final boss and the crawl leader. And well, before we enter the first bit of the planet, we get a cutscene of Gina saying, "Hey, good luck," because, you know, inopportune timing is a thing. I don't know why they did it there instead of just before traveling to Mado, but hey, I'm not a designer. And we didn't get a really bad vortex spawn. That's really nice. So the area I just walked through sometimes has a vortex. It's really fast, and man, is it hard to avoid. Oh, and there's another one. It was way closer than it should, but I'll take it. Oops. Wait a minute. This path somehow always confuses me because it's really similar to the next screen. Might just be me being tired, because I've been up since about yesterday morning. That's a good spawn. Oh my word. These vortexes are really tricky to control. See, I really like the thing they did with the music. They just really set an eerie atmosphere for what is a really eerie area as well. Aye.
So, how long will the final fight take?
The first two fights are about a minute each, and the final fight is 5 to 6 minutes, I think. It's just because the final boss is a really big HP sponge, and we don't have that strong of Spectrobes at this stage in the game anymore. But we're getting really close. Oh my god, really? That's pretty rare and really annoying. So if that one spots you in the middle of that road, he won't leave ever for no reason. And it just respawned. Nice. That's some tough luck.
So they can respawn on that bridge.
Yeah, they can respawn if they're far enough away. And even then, it's still like up to chance, and I just got unlucky. It happens. Just unfortunate. And we're here to see a gigantic mushroom-looking thing, and there's some rumbling. And there it is, the crawl leader. This guy is really cheap. So before you can even damage him, you need to use your geo, which requires 3 bars of the charge meter. So we can just hang around, spin a little. And we'll just break his magical barrier in order to hurt him. So the 2 things surrounding him create a constant shockwave whenever he's at distance, and we're using melee Spectrobes. So we need to kind of stun lock him in order to not have it attack. And this is where Roland comes in, because he can just punch him. And that won't just reset whatever the boss was trying to do. That's unfortunate. Please work, thanks. And in all honesty, it feels really satisfying to punch this boss. Even though it does 1 damage, it gives a lot of knockback. It just makes the fight really bearable. There we go. So that was the first of 3 fights. The upcoming fight is, I would say, impossible to die on, but no, it's basically impossible. Trust me.
Don't jinx it.
Dying here would mean that my controls would be completely shut off for about a minute or 10. So that's not gonna happen. Famous last words. So we hear the crawl screaming again, which means that whatever that mushroom thing is, it does heal everything, including the crawl we just killed. So we're just gonna have to destroy the mushroom. So instead of killing the animals, we will just kill the fungi. And this thing is a joke, really. So those 2 enemies are enemies from the first planet. They do 1 damage on each hit. They're a literal joke. As you can see, they're just completely harmless. Wait. Oh man, I'm missing charges. I'll just punch it. Man, that feels so satisfying. Yeah, this is good base. So that's the second of the bosses. And that mushroom just turned into a smoldering crater. So sad. And we hear a scream, which means that whatever we just killed is kind of zombified now. And this boss is really, really cheap in terms of design. And it's kind of infuriating sometimes. Let's get him. This is Goblada. He's got 3 phases. First one, he will try and shoot one of your Spectrobes, and you can just stun lock him against the wall, which is gonna be a recurring theme throughout, but it is actually faster to reset cycles as well, because the damage is just better. Sweet. This is gonna take a while, so if you can plug whatever we're doing, that would be really great.
Yeah, we are BSG, the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. We are having our first annual week-long 24/7 speedrunning marathon. We are gathering donations for the Dutch Cancer Society as well. 90% of all of your donations donated through our site or the link in the description of the channel will go directly to them to do a whole lot of good with fighting cancer and just helping people out who are already suffering from the disease. Aside from that, we have the Addams Family All Bosses coming up, and the donation incentive to show off the furnace clip has not been met quite yet, but in 17 euros it will be. So if you want to finish that one off, you can.
And you really want to see that. Like, the Addams Family is a really good NES game. So what just happened is I used a Geo, because once he reaches the 660 HP threshold, he will change his pattern. And we enter the second phase. And, well, we're just gonna stunlock him again, because we didn't want him to do anything. So the third phase is kind of stupid, in which whenever he reaches lower than 350 HP, he will do nothing but heal himself. It's really cheap. And kind of useless as well. Like, he just stops attacking you, he just stands still and heals. I feel like there's some misdesigned space in there.
So is this the same same boss as you fought earlier, or?
Yes, this is the revived version of the whatever we fought before the Zellas. Looks like it will be a 134. We are still very much on world record phase. So the reason I punch him is to prevent him jumping towards me and dealing a lot of damage, which I don't want. Because I think the jump two-shots me, but I've actually never been hit by it, and I'm not really willing to test it. I feel like this fight is just an unfinished product sometimes. It's kind of disappointing, really. That's pretty much perfect.
So on a casual run, how hard is this boss?
This is actually a pretty hard boss if you don't know what you're doing. Like, you're not really incentivized by any means that you need to stunlock him. And this looks like it is a really high 133. So from here it's just stack smashing, and time is on fade out to credits, so get ready. And the rumbling apparently is the planet becoming unstable because we killed the mushroom that basically gave life to all of it.
So that planet was just created by them.
Yeah, the planet was basically just crawl. So yay, we did it. We saved the entire solar system. And again, we forgot to inform the commander. Because Gina is quite forgetful, I'd say. And time. 134 flat. That's world record.
Whoa,
we did it.
Nice.
That just feels good. There was some slight mistakes in the mid game, but I'm pretty happy with this time. And come on, world record is world record. I'll take it.
A 134 flat.
So
Nice.
I hope that whoever that wants to pick up the run will contact me, and we'll see what we can get going on the first, second, and third game. And with that, I'm gonna send it off.